Next time you guys hear from me, we're going to be diving back into this trailer, and I'll be giving you some of my craziest theories that I have about RE9, and I'll see you in part 2. Now, Resident Evil 9 has been full of so much mystery and confusion because there are some people on one side, like me, who know for a fact that everything that we saw in the Resident Evil 9 trailer is not everything. But I really want to dive into this guy right here. Who is this person? Who is this mysterious older person just chilling here? Well, I noticed a couple of things because if you brighten up the image and if you zoom in, his outfit heavily resembles Albert Wesker. And I'm telling you right now, I don't think this is Albert Wesker. I think that's absolutely insane. It's not impossible for Albert Wesker to come back, but I don't think this guy specifically is Albert Wesker. A good friend of mine, Center for Evil, he actually thinks that this guy could also be Brandon Bailey, which for those that don't know, he is the founder of the Connections. The Connections obviously being this underground facility or team, whatever you want to call them, that was revealed in Resident Evil 7. We saw this further in the RE7 Not a Hero DLC with Lucas when he was doing that sneaky, computer stuff. Obviously, he was sending stuff to the Connections. He was working with them. And as far as who the Connections are, well, they're essentially made up of Umbrella's leftovers. So people that used to work for Umbrella and also people who are new and were hired on. So the Connections isn't necessarily Umbrella 2.0, but I'd say they're pretty close. They conduct experiments, and again, you see a lot of this in the concept art. And as I was doing some digging on Brandon Bailey, I found something interesting. So all the way back in 2009 in Resident Evil 5, you can find a file with the name Brandon B, and it says that his status is deceased. But if we go to Resident Evil Village, Brandon B is mentioned again, but this time it says his status is unknown. So I don't know if this is the same Brandon B. I mean, no, in Capcom, it could be two completely different characters. So if he went from deceased to now unknown, is that maybe who this guy is? Could this really be the founder of the Connections? This new organization that was introduced in Resident Evil 7? But my personal theory, I think this is Oswald E. Spencer. Yeah, the big bad of Resident Evil, essentially the founder of Umbrella. You might be thinking, what? Spencer is dead. But I think context is important here because in this scene in Resident Evil 5, remember, Spencer and Wesker are both absolutely delusional. They both had a lust for power. They wanted to become gods. They wanted to become immortal. And as we know, Wesker killed Spencer. And we've been knowing this since the first Resident Evil. Wesker doesn't care about anybody but himself. Chris literally says that in RE5. And ever since, Spencer has been dead. Now, in addition to this, as far as I know, Resident Evil Resistance is not canon. However, the characters in Resistance are canon. And Spencer is in Resistance. This is his first ever RE engine look. And if we compare the back of this guy's head to Spencer, don't you see how similar this looks? They have a very similar hairline. The hairstyle is very similar. Now, the reason why I think this is Spencer is for actually a pretty good reason, in my head at least. So as I said, Wesker killed Spencer, right? But this guy's outfit looks very similar to Wesker's outfit from RE5. And if you zoom in on his face, it also doesn't really look human. It almost looks crusty and very beat up. So what if somehow Spencer was brought back from the dead? The only thing I can think of is maybe somehow the Megamycete was put into his body and that's what brought him back to life. I mean, we saw this in Resident Evil Village, right? I mean, Mother Miranda's daughter was, so she used the Megamycete and Rose to bring her back to life. So it's very possible that somehow the Megamycete made its way into Spencer's body and that's what brought him back. And maybe that's why he looks all messed up, because it was confirmed in Village that Spencer and Miranda did work together before Umbrella was founded. In part 1 of my Resident Evil 9 analysis, I also said this, and do you see this crater right here? Yeah. Remember that. So now we got to talk about it. But I'm really trying to think, okay, why would we go back to Raccoon City? Obviously, we're trying to uncover something. There's something, here that needs to be revealed. But in terms of the gameplay and the story, what would we find here, right? We're not just going to find notes. So I was thinking, what if there's a secret lab? And then I thought even further, I was like, wait a minute. So this character, I still think is Spencer. Or it could be Brandon Bailey, but I think it's Spencer. Either way, whoever this person is, what if he's he's been building a secret underground lab in Raccoon City, but not just in Raccoon City, but under this crater right here. I'm trying to think from a logical standpoint, because if whoever this person is, he built an underground facility under this crater, obviously nobody would know. Also, it's in Raccoon City, and from the looks of it, it seems like nobody even wants to fix up this place. Like, it's just been destroyed for years and years. And I feel like nobody would really suspect you building an underground facility under a town that's already been destroyed. I think there is going to be, because it's not a Resident Evil game without a lab. I mean, come on now. But I do think there is some sort of facility or something under that crater, specifically that crater. Now, we got to talk about this guy, and I want to know what you guys think. So I've seen some crazy theories. I think the number one theory I've seen is people think this is Leon. No, I'm telling you right now, if it is, that'd be like the dumbest reveal ever. But I do, however, think this is Daniel Fabron, or Fabron. I don't know how to say his name, but basically one of the masterminds from Resident Evil Resistance. So for those that didn't play Resistance, there is a bad guy or a mastermind, a playable character called Daniel. And if you actually look up his bio on the Resident Evil wiki, here's what it says. When problems arise for Umbrella, he makes sure that they go away. Interesting. Very much like the guy in the trailer who's obviously trying to cover something up. It also says here in his bio that he kidnaps subjects. You mean like how Grace was kidnapped in the trailer? And just to add fuel to the fire, Daniel was a colleague of Alex Wesker. Am I going crazy here, or is anybody else seeing this revelations pattern that's going on? Is Resident Evil 9 secretly like the third Revelations game? Now, as far as the Hag goes, which is the official name, I have a couple of ideas. This could be an entirely new monster. Maybe it's somebody that we don't even know. A lot of people think that this is Alyssa Ashcroft, which is in fact Grace's mother. And the title of Resident Evil 9, Requiem, it actually means to honor the dead, or to let the souls of the dead rest, which seems to be the theme of this game, right? Going back to the past, finally uncovering the truth. And they confirmed in the trailer that Alyssa is dead. And I don't remember if I said this in my last video, but I don't think she's dead. I feel like that's not something that Capcom would really give away in the trailers. I actually think that one of the voices that we hear in the trailer is Alyssa. Now, it's clear that we are going to have flashbacks, but I still don't think she's dead. But just to let you guys know, Alyssa Ashcroft is arguably one of the most important characters in Resident Evil history. Alyssa was infected with the T-virus, and then after she escaped Raccoon City, she received a vaccine that was called Daylight. And as we've seen with Jill Valentine, when a character receives a vaccine, usually there's some antibodies that are built up in their body. So maybe that's why whoever this bad guy is, that's why they want Grace. Maybe she has something inside of her body that's gonna help whatever he wants. I do think that this monster could also be Lisa Trevor. Now, I'm not the first one to come up with this theory, but I have my own personal reasons. And as we know, Lisa Trevor was this enemy from the RE1 remake. Now, people think that this theory is crazy, and I've seen it on Twitter. Well, let's not forget that Lisa Trevor was essentially deemed unkillable. And because she was experimented on so much, eventually she developed the G virus inside of her body. The G virus was the same one that William Birkin infected himself with. And as we saw with him, that virus is extremely powerful. Now, we saw Lisa jump into the abyss, so we just assumed that she, died. But I was doing some research and I found out online that apparently there were tunnels down there. So what if she crawled into one of them, and then when the mansion exploded, she somehow survived? And from what I know, Lisa Trevor was roughly 45 years old in the RE1 remake, and assuming that RE9 takes place around 2026, if we do 45 plus 28 years, that would make Lisa roughly 73 years old in Resident Evil 9. Let me ask you guys a question. Does this not look like some old 73-year-old mutated monster? And again, the name of this creature, as it was confirmed in the demo, is the Hag. And as we know, a hag is like a witch, or a really old, like ugly woman, essentially. Wait, I think I just figured out the plot for RE9. Oh my god. What if this creature actually has connections to Leon, and then we find out in RE9 that the reason why Leon comes back to Raccoon City is because he finds out that this creature is actually Leon's long-lost grandmother? I'm just kidding. I'll catch y'all in the next one.